Before you scroll past this video, I need you to hear something. There is a conversation happening right now inside the NASCAR garage that the sport does not want to become public. It's being whispered between crew chiefs. It's being debated behind closed doors. And two former Cup Series champions have already gone on record demanding that NASCAR take action. This is not a rumor. This is not clickbait. This is a story that could reshape the entire 2024 championship picture before the playoffs even begin. And here's the part that makes this even more explosive. The team at the center of this storm just won 3 races in a row. 3 consecutive victories. So the question being asked all across the NASCAR garage right now is a simple one. Is this dynasty-level dominance? Or is something else going on? By the end of this video, you are going to know everything. The names, the accusations, the silence that is speaking louder than words, and exactly what NASCAR is being pressured to do about all of it. Stay with me, because this story is only getting bigger. But before we go any further, I want to take just a moment to talk to you directly. This channel, NASCAR Report Today, exists because of fans like you. Fans who want more than just race highlights. Fans who want the real conversations, the behind-the-scenes stories, the things that actually matter in this sport. We are still a growing community. We are pushing hard toward our next subscriber milestone, and every single person who clicks that subscribe button right now is a part of building something special here. If you believe NASCAR fans deserve honest, in-depth coverage of stories like this one, then hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the bell so you never miss a video. I promise you, on this channel, we do not waste your time. Every video we put out is built for fans who truly love this sport. And if that sounds like you, then welcome to NASCAR Report Today. Now let's get into this story. Let's set the scene. Pocono Raceway, Sunday afternoon. And Denny Hamlin crosses the finish line first. Again, 3 straight NASCAR Cup Series wins. 3 consecutive weekends where Hamlin and the number 11 Joe Gibbs racing machine looked virtually untouchable. For a driver of Hamlin's caliber, for a team with the history and the resources of Joe Gibbs Racing, 3 wins in a row is remarkable. But it isn't impossible. We've seen dominant stretches before in this sport. What made Pocono different was what happened after the checkered flag. Because while Denny Hamlin was celebrating, while his crew was high-fiving on pit road, and while Toyota executives were no doubt feeling very good about where their program stood in the championship picture, something else was happening on the other side of the garage. Conversations were being had. Concerns were being raised. And the word spreading through competitor circles was not congratulations. It was questions. Serious questions. From serious people. About whether the dominance being displayed by Joe Gibbs Racing and their affiliated organization, 23XI Racing, had risen to a level that demanded a closer look. And what you need to understand is that this isn't just about one driver on a hot streak. This goes much deeper than that. Because before Denny Hamlin started stacking victories, Tyler Reddick over at 23XI Racing was already turning heads all season long. Week after week, Reddick was consistently one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. The speed was undeniable. The consistency was undeniable. And for a lot of people watching from the competition side, the combination of Reddick's performance and Hamlin's sudden 3-race tear created a picture that was impossible to ignore. 2 organizations, 1 dominant stretch, and a connection between them that is unlike anything else in the garage. Here is where this story becomes something much more than just a hot streak conversation. Denny Hamlin is not simply a driver for Joe Gibbs Racing. He is also the co-owner of 23XI Racing. The team where Tyler Reddick competes. The team where Bubba Wallace also races. Hamlin co-founded 23XI Racing alongside NBA legend Michael Jordan, and the team has grown rapidly since its debut. Now, co-ownership by itself is not unusual in NASCAR. We have seen driver-owner arrangements throughout the history of this sport. But what makes this situation unique is the technical alliance between 23XI Racing and Joe Gibbs Racing. Under that arrangement, 23XI receives technical support and equipment from JGR. In plain language, the two organizations share resources in ways that go beyond a typical partnership. Again, technical alliances are not new either. Charter agreements, satellite team arrangements, technical partnerships, these structures have existed in NASCAR for a long time. Toyota has built a well-known network of support around its Cup Series teams, and that network has helped multiple organizations compete at a higher level. But here is the question that some competitors are now asking out loud. When you have one person connected to 2 organizations, when those 2 organizations share technical resources, and when both organizations are suddenly among the fastest operations on the racetrack week after week, does that combination deserve a closer look? According to multiple reports, a growing number of drivers and team officials believe the answer is yes. And they have been telling NASCAR exactly that. The language being used by competitors is careful. Nobody inside the garage has stood up and publicly accused Joe Gibbs Racing or 23XI Racing of breaking the rules. That is a critical distinction, and it matters. But what is being communicated privately, and what has now begun leaking into industry reporting, is a clear and consistent message. Competitors want NASCAR to increase its inspection efforts. They want more thorough post-race reviews. They want officials taking a closer look at components that may be shared between affiliated organizations. In other words, they're not saying it's illegal. They are saying, prove that it isn't. Now let's talk about who exactly is behind this push. Because when you hear the names involved, you understand why this story carries the weight that it does. According to sources familiar with the discussions, two former NASCAR Cup Series champions have been among the most vocal advocates for expanded inspections. Those names are Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski. Think about that for a moment. These are not fringe voices. These are not drivers venting frustration after a bad weekend. Joey Logano is a Cup Series champion and one of the most recognizable faces in the sport. Brad Keselowski is a former champion, a team owner, and someone with significant standing throughout the NASCAR community. When drivers of that caliber start raising concerns, people listen. And to be absolutely clear again, neither Logano nor Keselowski has publicly accused Joe Gibbs Racing or 23XI Racing of cheating. What has been reported is that both drivers have expressed the view that NASCAR should conduct deeper, more comprehensive inspections of both organizations given the performance levels they have sustained throughout this season. From a competitive standpoint, that position is understandable. Every team in the Cup Series is fighting for the same edge. Crew chiefs spend countless hours searching for hundredths of a second. Engineers study data obsessively looking for any advantage within the rules. When one group of organizations appears to have found something that is producing results nobody else can match, the rest of the field takes notice. One source reportedly told ESPN that the connection between JGR and 23XI is unlike anything else in the garage, and that when the same people keep showing up near the front every weekend, it naturally raises curiosity among competitors. That curiosity, according to the report, has now turned into something more organized. A deliberate push to get NASCAR to increase its level of scrutiny. The sport has been here before, of course. Dominant teams throughout NASCAR history have always attracted attention. But the specific structure of this situation, the co-ownership angle, the technical alliance, the timing of the performance surge has given this particular conversation an intensity that is hard to dismiss. Here is where this story takes a turn that nobody expected. Bubba Wallace. If you follow NASCAR even casually, you know that Bubba Wallace is one of the most outspoken personalities in the paddock. He has never been shy about sharing his opinions, whether on social media, in post-race interviews, or in conversations around the garage. Bubba speaks his mind. That has always been part of who he is. So when this story began spreading through the NASCAR community, a lot of people expected to hear from Wallace. After all, he drives for 23XI Racing, the team co-owned by his boss, Denny Hamlin. The team now sitting at the center of one of the most talked about controversies of the season. But Bubba Wallace has said almost nothing publicly about this situation. And according to reports, that silence has not gone unnoticed inside the garage. One veteran crew member reportedly pointed out that Wallace typically has something to say about major topics that circulate through the sport. His decision to stay quiet on this particular issue has raised eyebrows among people who know him. Now, to be fair and clear, silence does not prove anything. People choose not to comment on situations for many legitimate reasons. Perhaps Wallace was advised by the team to let the organization's representatives handle it. Perhaps he simply decided this was not a conversation he wanted to enter publicly. None of that is evidence of anything. But in a sport where perception matters enormously, and where the absence of a normally vocal voice gets noticed immediately, Wallace's quiet approach to this story has added another layer to an already complicated situation. So what do the teams at the center of this controversy have to say? Both Joe Gibbs Racing and 23XI Racing have rejected any suggestion of wrongdoing. Their position is straightforward. They have competed cleanly. They have passed every inspection they have faced throughout this season. And they are operating fully within the framework of NASCAR's rules. Team representatives from both organizations pointed directly to the existing technical review process as evidence that everything is above board. These cars go through inspection before every race. They go through inspection after every race. Officials examine equipment at multiple stages throughout the race weekend. If something were wrong, the argument goes, the inspection process would have found it already. And Denny Hamlin, for his part, was direct and unapologetic when asked about the growing speculation following his Pocono victory. His message was simple. Everything his team has accomplished has been earned. People are welcome to question whatever they want, he reportedly said, but the cars have been inspected and his team knows exactly what it is doing while operating within NASCAR's rules. That is the kind of confident, borderline defiant response you'd expect from a driver on a 3-race winning streak who believes completely in his team's work. NASCAR itself, when asked about the situation, declined to comment specifically about Joe Gibbs Racing or 23XI Racing. But officials did confirm that all organizations are subject to the same inspection procedures, and that additional examinations can be conducted whenever NASCAR officials determine they are warranted. And that last part is the most significant detail. NASCAR did not say additional inspections would not happen. They said they could happen if officials deemed them necessary. As of now, there is no formal investigation. There are no announced penalties. There are no public findings of any kind suggesting that rules have been violated. That is essential context. What exists at this moment is competitive pressure from rival teams and a growing public debate about whether the current level of scrutiny is sufficient given the performance being displayed. To understand why this situation feels so significant, it helps to look at how NASCAR has handled similar moments in the past. Dominant teams have always drawn scrutiny in this sport. It is almost a tradition at this point. Go back to the early 2000s when Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus were winning championships at a rate no team had matched in decades. Their era was defined by incredible success, but also by persistent questions from competitors and repeated inspections by NASCAR. Knaus himself was suspended at various points during that championship run. The team was penalized for infractions that, while not catastrophic, showed that even the most successful operations in the sport were not immune to getting caught. Go back further and you will find similar stories. Junior Johnson's teams in the 1960s and 1970s, the Holman-Moody operation, the Great Petty Enterprises cars of the Richard Petty era. Dominance in NASCAR has historically invited examination. Sometimes that examination revealed violations. Sometimes it validated the work being done. But it always happened. The difference in today's era is the structure of team alliances and technical partnerships. When one team bends or breaks a rule, the investigation is relatively contained. But when two technically allied organizations are both producing exceptional results at the same time, the scope of any potential inquiry becomes significantly more complex. NASCAR's inspection procedures have evolved considerably in recent years. The introduction of the next-gen car brought new levels of standardization to the sport, reducing some of the areas where teams historically found gray area advantages. But standardization never eliminates creativity. Engineers still find ways to extract performance. Setups still matter. And the people and processes behind a team's operation still make an enormous difference. What Joe Gibbs Racing has built over decades is one of the most sophisticated racing operations in the world. The infrastructure, the engineering talent, the data analysis capabilities, these are legitimately world-class resources. And 23XI Racing, while still a relatively young organization, has benefited directly from its alliance with one of NASCAR's most accomplished franchises. So the argument from Joe Gibbs Racing's side is credible. When you invest at the level they invest, when you attract the talent they attract, and when you build the kind of organizational culture they have built, winning is the expected outcome. But the argument from the competitor side is also credible. At what point does sustained, combined dominance across two technically connected organizations warrant a deeper look? That is not a question with an obvious answer. And it is the question that NASCAR will be living with for the remainder of this season. Here is where things stand right now, and here is what to watch in the coming weeks. If NASCAR conducts additional inspections and those inspections come back clean, Joe Gibbs Racing and 23XI Racing will have been validated publicly. Their competitors will have little remaining ground to stand on, and the story will shift back to simply celebrating one of the most dominant stretches of the season. If NASCAR conducts additional inspections and finds something that does not pass their review, then the conversation changes entirely. Penalties, points deductions, suspensions, all of those become possibilities, and the championship picture gets thrown into chaos. And if NASCAR chooses not to increase scrutiny, the pressure from competitors like Logano and Keselowski is going to grow louder. The sport has a long history of competitors demanding accountability from the governing body, and those demands tend to escalate when results keep pointing in the same direction. What is absolutely certain is that as long as Denny Hamlin keeps winning races, as long as Tyler Reddick remains one of the fastest drivers in the field, and as long as Toyota-affiliated teams continue running near the front of every leaderboard, this conversation is not going away. The spotlight on Joe Gibbs Racing in 23XI Racing is only going to get brighter. The questions are only going to get louder. And every race between now and the end of the regular season is going to add another layer to one of the most compelling storylines of 2024. This is what NASCAR looks like when the competition reaches its highest intensity. The fastest teams fight for the checkered flag on Sunday. And everything else fights to be heard the rest of the week. That is where this story stands today. And I genuinely want to know what you think. Do you believe NASCAR should be conducting additional and deeper inspections of Joe Gibbs Racing in 23XI Racing? Or do you believe that what we are watching is simply the result of great people, great engineers, and great drivers doing their jobs better than everyone else? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Because this community deserves a real conversation about it, and I read every single comment that comes through on this channel. If this video gave you something to think about, please hit the like button. It takes 1 second and it genuinely helps this channel grow so we can keep covering stories like this one. And if you are not already subscribed to NASCAR Report today, now is the time. We cover the real stories, the deep dives, the conversations happening inside the garage that most people miss. If you are a true NASCAR fan who wants more than just surface-level coverage, this is the place for you. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will see you in the next one.